Chime right in.
All right, what's going on, everyone? Jared Couture here from Kung Fu Music Lessons, Two Cities, One World. And today we're here with Regi and Roy Wooten. Thank you guys so much for joining me.
Right. Good to be back.
Yeah, good to be back. Just back very soon. But today I want to talk specifically to you guys about the Age of Aquarius, what this means for musicians today. And some of the things about, I mean, really, if for the listeners, all the Wootens are like philosophical masters, in my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but like just 100% true masters, philosophers, powerful musicians. There's so much to be said. And that's why this conversation, I think, is going to spark a lot in the musicians for maybe a long time to come. So anyway, let's get right in. So, and Regi, in our lessons, he's uncovering so many things about the history of the power of music too. And I think this is all in the same place. So yeah, I guess first off, what do you guys think about the new entrance to the Age of Aquarius and what this can mean for musicians and everyone?
I'll let Roy go first. I've got a lot to say, so you guys go first, and then I'll finish up. I'll anchor.
Wow. I mean, that's a question for my big brother right there. I mean, we're going through different ages, and science is moving forward. I'm trying to think how to say it without going too deep first.
I'll go first.
I'll let Reg go because I don't want to let Reg take it because I'll step too far.
That's okay. That's okay. We can do that.
He's the future man.
That's true.
You got time travel and steps and increments.
Yeah.
But no, the Age of Aquarius. So that's a subject that's not talked about much. I remember back in the 60s, the Fifth Dimension, the band called the Fifth Dimension, made a song called "This Is the Dawning of the Age of Aquarius." So, but of course, Nostradamus and the Bible and all these texts talks about the Age of Aquarius. The Mayan calendar made their calendar in. I have a Mayan calendar in my room, but they end at the end of Pisces and at the beginning of the Age of Aquarius because nobody knew what this age was going to bring. They even made a movie called The Truman Show with Jim Carrey. And I was actually talking about it where, they were chastising him or whatever they were doing to him. And everybody knew, but he didn't know. And finally, he went to the end of the world and walked through that door. And then they didn't know what was going to happen. Everybody knew everything about him before he went to that door. When he got to that door, even the man in the moon in the movie didn't know what was going to happen. So I thought that was kind of talking about this Age of Aquarius. At least I've seen that theme over and over and over. But the Age of Aquarius is very, very key. And I haven't seen any movies or anything really talk about it or say it. Maybe nonchalantly they mention it like the Truman Show. But the Christian Bible actually starts out in the Age of Aquarius. Okay, and if you study the Christian Bible as a science book and a music book and not try to sell it and make money and divide the people with different religions and stuff like that when it's the same book with different interpretations of the same book, if you just read the book, I always just tell some of my students, I just bought them a Bible. I said, let's just read it. You see what I mean? Let's just read it, not just take one verse, just read it. And then it's so clear. So the Bible starts out in Aquarius and just goes through all the ages, goes through all of them. And they have big moments where they signify each age, all the way to the New Testament where they get to Pisces. That's where Jesus was. So the New Testament is talking about Pisces. As you know, the symbol of Pisces is 2 fish and a loaf of bread. So Jesus wrote the Sermon on the Mount, which was his biggest performance. 2 fish and a loaf of bread. He came back with 7 baskets full. That whole thing.
For people who haven't heard of the ages before, can you tell like kind of how long you know, span of times they are, and some of the other symbols that people will recognize when they're talking about these ages.
Right. So the New Testament is talking about the age of Pisces, and going backwards, the next age of Aquarius, and that's Revelations. Okay, so now we can get into like, you know, this could get into argument and stuff like that about how long each age is. So in Sumerian, you know, they have the Great Kali Yuga, which is 12 ages. Each age is 2,160 years. Yep. Every age is 2,160, which is like 216, half of 432, which we talked about.
Yes.
But this is the age of Aquarius, and the age of Aquarius is a very, very, I mean, everybody agrees now that we are in the age of Aquarius, and it's a very, very magnificent age. If you go back to the Bible, that was the age of giants. You said there were giants in those days. It's also where at the very beginning of Genesis, it said, let us make man. So it's not God talking anymore. It says God walked upon the waters, God walked upon this. Now it says let us. So this is, they're cloning back then, putting it right there in the open. You got people living forever, like Enoch. You got people deciding when they're going to die. Methuselah he only needed 970 years, and all this kind of stuff. Very, very magnificent age, what they're doing. So we've gone through all the ages. Now we're back into the age of Aquarius again. So it could be that these are the same people being reincarnated again. The Bible actually talks about God bringing those people back in the last days because they were too powerful. In 2 chapters of the Bible, he says those Aquarian people were too powerful because they were killing his dragon. God was trying to deceive the earth with his dragon and his Leviathan. That's what he calls him the second time. But he couldn't do it with his people on the earth, so God took these Aquarian people off of the earth. Said, I'll bring them back in the last days. Well, everybody agrees these are the last days now. He said, we're in the age of Aquarius. Nobody has any record of what's going to happen in this age. So we could be
right. Like the Mayan calendar doesn't go forward after this age.
No,
right?
Nostradamus, Mayan calendar. Nobody goes.
The Dogon, I think they did their last Siggy dance.
Right.
They do a Siggy dance, like
because they didn't know what was going to happen in the age of Aquarius. But we are in the age of Aquarius again, and the age of Aquarius was a very magnificent age, and that's where we are now. So it looks like to me, when I just use a 360-degree angle of vision, I see people doing the same thing that they even talk about in the Bible. Let us make man. Well, we all know this cloning, because they even put that in the grocery store. This is clone meat. You know what I mean? You're buying beef, which is a cow. They got to put a sticker on it. They could be cloning vegetables, fruit, everything. So here we are right back again. So it's good to study. It's good to study that age to see what the possibilities were, because you can believe that the higher institutions, these higher corporations, are already on that and have already studied to see what the possibilities are. So it's good. And a key thing, anyway, there's more to that story of this age of Aquarius and God walking on the waters and all this kind of thing.
Yeah, because this is the waters. They're supposed to be pouring in the truth, the symbol, right? I don't forget that man's name who's actually doing it, but holding the bucket of water is supposed to be the time pouring in the truth into the people, which is good because everybody seems to be going through this massive wake up, the spiritual awakening and other types of awakenings, and people are back into wanting to study being psychic and clairvoyant and all these superhuman powers. This is very, very popular right now. But it's
powers again, right?
Obvious that it's popular right now.
And then just to open up with a little bit of knowledge, just factual knowledge, is that so when the Bible ends in Revelations, which just phonetically says reveal a tone, revelate tone, T-I-O-N, reveal the A tone, the A of Aquarius tone, A432, A440, whatever you tune to, reveal that A tone. Okay. And so, yeah, exactly. The Akan A tone, Adam and Eve,
Akhenaten,
all that stuff. Just cutting back to the A. You gotta complete it, put the A back in there, which is where you get Aquarius, meaning A chaos. But then chaos also deals with water also. Aquarius, aquarium. So chaos deals with water or vibration. God walked upon the waters. But Gabriel points out, a key thing is that Gabriel points out that those waters were music because she was playing a trumpet. And John said that he heard the voice of the trumpet, meaning he could interpret what the trumpet was saying, just like the Navy does with Morse code. You play a rhythm and they know what you just said phonetically. So he's pointing out that there's a melodic way to do that. There's a melodic Morse code, and of course there's a harmonic Morse code also. It's just that, which is basically spelling, to put a spell. Spelling, you just take a bunch of letters and combine them, that's a chord, and it makes a sound. So we just have to do it. Somebody could easily, I think, with a little bit of time, make a science of what the chords are saying, because we're doing it with spelling anyway. That's the key or clue that it can be done. There's three Morse codes. Right now they're just talking about one. So, but in the Bible, they talk about the melodic one, or probably the harmonic one too, and rhythmic, where John interpreted what the trumpet was saying. Gabriel said that she was the beginning and the end. So God also says early in the Bible that he's the beginning and the end. So it's showing that God walked upon vibration. And it says water is talking about the rivers of vibration, sine waves of vibration. She clarifies a lot more. You see me? Because the Bible starts in Aquarius and ends in Aquarius.
I never knew that until you said that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
There's many people, Charles Epps and all that.
Yeah.
But if you just read the thing.
That's a great, astrology.
If you just read it, it's there. It's just that most people won't read. They're looking at, it's like playing, a lot of people play music not for what it really is. They're playing for alternative reasons, maybe to make money, to support a family, whatever. But for me, I just look at music, I'm going to play it anyway. You see what I mean? So therefore you see the music totally different instead of having an agenda. Well, the Bible's the same way. If you read it not for an agenda and just read the book, it's a very fantastic book. Can't really even be taught. A lot of principles in the Bible people don't even want to talk about because they're too heavy. And I could get into that to clarify myself, but you have to ask me before. A lot of things in the Bible is just too heavy. People don't even want to deal with. You see what I mean?
Wow.
So they paraphrase. It's all watered down. But in my strong opinion in science, the Bible is really just a hymn book. It's written exactly like a hymn book. They just left the notes out. And so the mystery of the Bible, the mystery of the Ark of the Covenant, the mystery of Moses, the mystery of Jesus, which is a music chord, Jesus, there's Jesus right there. He says, I go to the Father, the all-seeing eye, there's C right there. No white, you see what I mean?
Say that again, that's a cadence you're saying?
Yeah, this is the 5. Jesus says,
strongest cadence back
that's
to
the
the
strongest cadence, a 4 and a 5 going back to the 1. That's Jesus. Jesus was suspended upon the cross. He was suspended because he's a suspended cord. The suspended 4 always resolves to the 3rd, but Jesus rose on the 3rd day because he's suspended.
Right, and that really makes perfect sense. And another thing for people who don't know music theory, probably a lot of people watching do know music theory, but just to say, like in church, a sus chord is played all the time, almost more than other chords. The G sus chord.
That's an interesting point that you made, because they hold it for the preacher to talk over, right?
There's constantly a sus chord, just all the time. Sus chords.
Suspended upon that X.
That's a very interesting point.
Suspended on his axe. You go to axe into the, they say S-A-S-S, but it's really an axe. That's what he wrote in. One time he wrote a donkey, which means Don is tone and key. He wrote it on a key tone. Don key dome.
Oh man, Reggie, can you continue to uncover some things that are very obvious to you like that most people don't know that are musical? Like what are other many musical things, like just like you just said about the donkey, what you just said. What is like really obvious that most people don't know to you? Obvious to you?
Well, one thing that's obvious to me, I've talked to Roy about it. I think Victor's writing a little bit about it in his new book. It's like the Ark of the Covenant. But we've talked about scientific tuning. You can help the crowd if they don't know, your audience. But in scientific tuning, C equals 256. vibrations per second, and A would be 432. Today we tune to A 440. But from that, if you take 256, which is binary tuning, 2 to the 8th power equals 256. Well, I just went through the Bible and just played with those numbers and doubled them, 512. And so I got to 2nd Chronicles 512. And I got through that through C256 times 2. Right? So 2nd Chronicles 512, it tells how to make the Ark of the Covenant work. So the Ark of the Covenant is like the greatest machine ever, even greater than comic books, because you're not just bringing down superheroes, you're actually bringing God down. And God signed a covenant with the Ark of the Covenant that if you do some ritual, sing some song or whatever you're supposed to do, a lot of people, they interpret as if you do my commandments. They're really musical commandments, because God doesn't come down doing the commandments. He comes to the Ark of the Covenant in 2nd Chronicles 5:12 when he has 120 singers.
Wow.
In 2nd Chronicles 5:12, 120 timpani, 120 harp players, 120 trumpets. You have to have the 3 main composers. The composers are Asaph, Jeduthun, and Haman. Right? That's very key also. Those names appear in other times in the Bible also. Okay, but you have those 3 main composers, and then God comes down and puts on a show. It's so dramatic that you have to get out of there, because priests get killed and everything, being in his dark cloud and glory, and it's a mystery of what happens in there, but he's totally, but this Ark of the Covenant was a very, very powerful and accurate machine. They could do many things. So to me, this is very, very key to understanding the power of the musical man, because in my science, what I found out that the music man, the shaman, the griot, Buddhist monk, the Sifu, the Sophies, I'm leaving out a few. The bards, like the troubadours of England, yeah, Sufis, Sophies. You get the word sophisticated. Used to mean, but it was all dealing with the music thing, and they were the most powerful of all of them. Okay, so that the Ark of the Covenant gets into a science. Ark of the Covenant is dealing with Atlantis. You get the Israelites, there's the Israel-Atlantis. You see what I mean? And then Moses was dealing with Lemuria. So this is before Atlantis. And in the music, these are 2 very profound sciences, meaning that, so it's not mysterious, is that in the beginning, and the Bible talks about this, in the beginning, people had the Ark of the Covenant within them, if you trained enough. If you, in the Bible, they call it sacrifice, but it really just means practice and train. It doesn't mean kill something. If you practice and train and had a certain discipline and you saw, then like David in the Bible, God walked with you. So David is before the Ark of the Covenant. God was walking with him, so he could do all these fantastic things. God was inside him. He wasn't inside of a machine. And that's what Moses had. But then when he made the covenant, he was trying to give something to the people, because he probably thought it's like Jesus. Jesus knew everybody wasn't going to train like him. So Jesus said, I'll do the training for you. You see what I mean? And so Moses kind of did what Jesus did. He made a machine so that people could access it, that power, without all the training he did. But Moses had the power. But then later on, with the machine, the Ark of the Covenant, they could do it. So this gets into the bards who could do these fantastic things with their music, like the Pied Piper. They called the Pied Piper to rid the town of rats. They didn't pay him, so then he got rid of all the children. And there's many stories like that. This guy, William Henry, has helped me with many of those kind of stories that even I couldn't find, of just bardic superhero musician stories, turning back armies. And of course, you can read India Vamana books of shamans coming out and defeating a whole nation of armies, just one guy raising his hands up and killing all the firstborn and all that kind of stuff. It's in books. That's where I got it from.
So bards relating to music.
Bards relates to music. Anytime you see the word bard, in the true bards, that's the troubadours of England. That's true bards. You see the Egyptians, and this is just all fundamental stuff to get you started. You see the Egyptians, they have bird heads, all types of bird head. Horus, which is the horizon. That's how far that it expand, that religion spanned the whole horizon, Horus. But they have bird heads. It means that they are musical and poetic and artistic. That's why in Egypt there's art everywhere. You don't see the machinery left behind. You see the art left behind, because that's what they're dealing with. Bardic traditions, art, and creativity.
Yeah, I think it's so
expressing
key.
yourself.
It's so key right here, because in our age they keep talking about the STEM programs, the science, the technology, the engineering, the mathematics, and there's no art in there. And so I just keep saying there's got to be art. It's got to be STEAM for it to be truly meaningful. Of course, it's always going to be in chaos. I'm teaching one kid in my class. I'm showing him how without the art, the technology is going to be in chaos. Like the cell phone, it got radiation. Yeah, you made the cell phone, but the radiation's got electric smog. You haven't figured that part out. You know what I mean? And it's going to take an artist to make that chaos order, so that your cell phone doesn't kill your brain. You know what I mean? The cell phone's killing everything because the rest, it's like there's a missing piece in the knowledge. And Reg gets into this too, where he talks about like with Pythagoras, as much as we got from Pythagoras only spent 22 years in Egypt
42.
Instead of the
full 42.
See what I'm saying?
It's supposed to be 42. In the Egyptian mystery schools, 42 years, 6 times 7.
Yeah, so it's just this idea that we can be stunted with our technology, and it's like playing with fire, you know what I mean? You sticking your hand in the socket, you just don't know any better, that kind of thing. And we're sort of, I think, there. That's why I like this other kind of knowledge that sounds like Yoda.
Well, hopefully in this new age, we'll get back to the musician being the top physician, the musician being the top scientist, the musician being the top everything, businessman and all that. Because what happens is the musician can feel. You see what I mean? So when, like they say, math is a universal language, but there's no feeling in looking at those numbers. Some people have a talent to feel something, but like when we do music, if I show you a scale, a mathematical scale,
it's mathematical, yeah.
It is a mathematical scale, scale. Major seconds, minor seconds. It's dealing with time.
Formula has a formula.
Has a formula, yes.
Measurements and measures, yeah.
You can definitely convert it back to geometry, whatever you want. I mean, every scale has a geometric shape. But just looking, like for instance, if I do a whole tone scale, dividing the octave into 6 parts, right? Dividing the octave, 12-note octave into 6 parts. Well, that in a circle, that makes a hexagon. But if I look at a hexagon screwdriver, you see, I'm just looking at it. But if I play it, all of a sudden it comes to life, and then you can feel it for yourself. And your creativity can come in there and know what to do with it, okay? For instance, I'll play it for you. So like I'm in the key of C. I'm still in the key of C, which is God's key, the all seeing eye, and Jesus.
I'm gonna share this while you're doing it, because it might help.
Okay. Yeah, now Coltrane drew that too. Coltrane has a diagram like that.
Yeah, I have it here too.
Yeah, that's very good.
So that's good. So people can imagine instead of the numbers on the clock,
There's that
imagine.
whole tone.
Yeah. Right, and that's both whole tones, right? That's both, because there's only 2 whole. Right. Keep in mind that every snowflake is whole tone.
Ooh.
Every snowflake, no exception, is, unless you mess with it or something messes with it, but it's 6-sided. Okay, so it's very, very key to understand. That's getting into water, what water is. But anyway, the whole thing is to feel your music, you see what I mean, instead of it just being a machine. For instance, I'm on the key of C. This is key of C. And so now whole tone has a major third and a flat 7. So that means it's dominant. So it has to be the 5 chord for theory people. Right? Because it has a major third and a flat 7. So if I just play whole tone, I mean, if you just look at it, like we just looked at it, it doesn't make much sense, but I play C. Now whole tone sounds like this. Stevie Wonder. See, now it's making total sense. You know what to do with it. That's why I always be around. That's what a hexagon screwdriver sounds like. So it makes a big difference. So this is going to, so we just played it. We use the left side of the brain, but then if we analyze what we just played, you get more geometry out of it. And if you combine those two sciences, we'll be back like how Pythagoras and the mystery schools were, what they were dealing with. So we can build great walls of Chinas and pyramids and Stonehenges and understand it. And play like Herbie Hancock, who's doing a lot of great things now. And Chris Anderson, people like that, Consuelo Lee. What I'm trying to do with music, take music to a higher level and lead the people into an Aquarian age, a very beautiful age that's never been here before. But it's all there. I'm just trying to, I do it at home. Roy does it, but I'm trying to, I want to put it out there. Mm-hmm.
I like how you put that chart up there. I just can you show that one more time for people who've never seen this?
Yeah, I got some. Yeah, I'll show you right here. I got the Coltrane one right here too. I'll share.
Let me see which Coltrane one you have.
Yeah, so people can understand the nature of the game. You know, that how you're interpreting the clock.
Yeah.
One thing I'll share with you guys that I think is pretty cool is, like you just said, everything could be measured, and I'm very fascinated in the Sri Yantra specifically for the mandalas. It's like the mother of all mandalas, they say. And what I would really like to do is actually measure the actual measurements of everything happening in the Sri Yantra and turn those lengths into a held down musical note. And each shape with like a shape of a whole tone, or for example, or whatever interval it is, and create a musical mandala. And I think a song is that. And the purpose of a mandala gets us there anyway. Like, I'm sorry, the purpose of a song kind of could have the same purpose as a mandala, as a way to enter, another doorway. And I think that we can purposefully create music like that. And music is kind of doing it already on its own without the intention,
Oh yeah. But very good, very good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
now, first of all, you said you had a Coltrane one, or is that
sorry,
it?
I got it. I'll show you. I
want to see which one you have, because there's one from the film not many people have. The one in the book. Let's see which one you have.
I got this one. Yeah.
Oh, I've never seen this one.
This is like the same thing he drew out, but I have the drone one too, I guess. I know I've seen this with the.
Yeah, I think somebody drew this about his diagram.
Right.
Somebody drew this about his. This isn't his, but.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little different.
You understand it? Or?
This one? I don't know, actually. Let me see.
Okay.
I don't know if I quite got it. What's really going on here? Well, let's see here. This is the half steps. And that's what they do. The chromatic scale creates this shape, which is like this big star. I know that. But I don't know. Can you enlighten us?
Yeah, it's not difficult. I don't want to take up all your time on that. I'm going to revert and say it's good to understand music theory and how it relates to math and geometry, how it relates to Kung Fu. How does music relate to Kung Fu? How does it relate to geometry? It's good to study that. So this is a good opening door. This is a good mandala to start to open those question doors. And those questions can be answered. But it's good because a lot of people have fears of things. If you look at, if you get this knowledge, a lot of fears will be erased. Like, the Star of David, which is just the Star of David is just two triangles. One's right side up and one's upside down. It's just a whole tone scale. Yeah, as above, so below, that kind of concept. Also ties in the macabre. And things like that. Just seeing if you have a macabre, it's just the two triangles in 3D, not just on a piece of paper. So there's so many things. If you look at even like, let's take like a swastika of the Nazis. It's just two fives moving in minor thirds. And I didn't even figure that out. One of my students sent me that. And once he got a little bit of knowledge, Evan Brewer is his name. That's his name. He sent me that and a lot more. So now the SWAT stick is just not a mystery. We see that what they're really working on. They come from the Bereal Society. The Bereal is an instrument like this. So now we're seeing how they're getting this, how they're getting their knowledge of vibration, what they're really working on. You see the micro vibrations.
Yeah, this is interesting. You know, I want to share that in the higher levels of the
a lot of fears have disappeared.
I want to share that in the higher levels of the Kung Fu program in the black strap before the master, everyone has to study truly what is music, you know, and I think it's really important for every musician to check into. This is exactly what you guys are talking about, is what is music, you know? Well, people say, well, it's sound. And then I say, well, what is sound? And people say, what is, you know, people say, well, that's vibration. Then I say, well, what is vibration? You just like, keep digging. What is this stuff and how are we using it? And that's a good question to think about. I'll let you guys talk on it, but I also want to share one other idea connected to that, is that, of course, everyone has heard, you know, that music is a universal language, if not the main universal language, along with math. Greg Braden says that emotion is the language that the universe responds to. So like in terms of manifestation and all that stuff, you know, it's like, yeah, you can manifest first with your thoughts, but it's like, you got to feel it for real. You got to feel it. He says that's the language that really brings the universe to you to really connect and to really respond to you. But I want to mix that because it's just like Regi was just saying.
That brings us back to music again too.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, because just like, and Regi was just talking about putting the emotion in the music, you know, it's like you can look at it, but music is emotion. It's a mood. You look on Spotify, you can just search moods, you know, I want to listen to happy music or melancholy. It's all just like talking about modes is a mood, you know. So it's like so putting the emotion in the music. So I want to say, what do you think about that in terms of these languages being one and uncovering that, you know?
Yeah, well, again, it's really cool even with what Greg Braden was saying, because it echoes what Regi just said. When you look at the hexagon, you learn about the hexagon, but then when you hear the hexagon,
right,
all of a sudden you by default you're gonna feel that emotionally. You know what I mean? Just by
maybe
default,
some understanding beyond words that you just
that's an ancient saying that why music is greater than math, because it is mathematics, but it presents mathematics emotionally as an art, you know. And it's like when you hear a whole tone, it's just like, whoa, that's a whole different thing than what you saw on the paper.
Right.
You know, to feel those relationships as music. And I just think that music is presenting those pictures to us. And for me, I like how you were getting back, well, what is this? What is music? What is vibration? Because to me, you keep slowing it down. It's not sound anymore. It gets into rhythm. It gets into a rhythmic pulse. It ain't making no sound. Why this rhythm comes in these orders and stuff that speed up to become other things. That's one thing I'm going over with my student Victor. We're doing a 21-day deep dive, right? And I'm deep dive. I said, I'm not getting ready to talk to you like a kid, right? We're just going deep, right? And so I'm showing him Dr. Ibrahim Karim, right? And he talks about, you know, that all of reality actually works like the scales of music. And he says in the octave where we are right here, you know, we can hear about 7 octaves of what the vibration is doing. There's others outside of what we can hear. But what we observe here, he says, turns into light. And light also has 7 octaves, but we can only see one of them. But the other ones are there. See what I'm saying? Like, we're dealing with all of these different things. So I just like how the field of music really just shows us so much of the game plan. You know what I mean? Of what rhythm turns into. Whoa, now rhythm becomes that. And just as we go on in Rhythm Hackers, I'm going to show you Stephen J. and his son. They take these rhythms, man, 3/2, and they become intervals, man. It becomes like intervals of music. Like all this stuff is so linked up, man. It's pretty cool. It's just really cool. So I like when Reg talks about with Pythagoras, you know, he's studying music for 22 years. I mean, it's superstars and people don't study music. Rock and roll, you know, whatever kind of music stars didn't study music for that long. You know what I mean? And he was studying for a different purpose. And I just keep saying that because I keep anchoring how the STEM programs are stunted. You know what I mean? I just keep anchoring that point. So I'm gonna get out the way because Red's got some more. But I want to ask Reg though. There was something you guys said that reminded me of talking about music and the feeling, Greg Braden, right? And so I wanted Reg to tell the story about David again with his heart. Again, he's a warrior, but he's a musician, and he has to play for the king. The king has musicians that's supposed to soothe him because he's having nightmares and issues and stuff. And it relates back to music. I just wanted Reg to relate that story again, how David comes on the scene with that heart.
David. Yeah, we're talking about music. One thing, what I tell my students, see, music really has no name. So what happens is music is all of them. You see, music's a language, music is math. You can call music geometry. You can call music your body. You got chromosomes, chromatic. That's chromatic right there.
Chromatic zones.
You see, chromatic zones. So we can keep going. Music is all of them.
Body.
So organs. What happens is, you got organs in your body. You got muscles. Just put the eye in there. Now it's musicals. Instead of muscles, just put an eye in there. Musicals. So strength, strings. So we could do that. Music is all of them. That's what Gabriel was saying. Gabriel says, he's playing a trumpet. I'm the beginning and the end. If you look, so really there is no name for music. So it's almost like in the Bible, they put a name on God, right? Some people put Yahweh, Jehovah, like, I don't say anything because he's not sitting here with me right now. So I'm not going to speak for him. You see what I mean? If he, it's like, I'm not going to put a name on it. So people ask me, what is music? Hey, nobody knows. That's why it's called music. It means to seek mu, right? And mu means many things. To amuse yourself, Moses, Lemuria. If you say the mu, that's mother. You're seeking the mother where you came from. And so it's just a big seek. Right now, if I move my finger, nobody knows how I move my finger. I don't know. The doctors don't know. Because I had a student one time who was in a coma. He was in a coma. He was awake, eyes open, couldn't move his finger. The doctors couldn't figure out why he couldn't move his finger when he was fully conscious. They just called it a coma. They just made up a name. But they gave him distilled water and salt in the water, saline solution, for about 6 months, and he popped out of it. That's just all I know. You see what I mean? Nobody knows how you move your finger. Nobody knows who gave you this body. Nobody knows where these words are coming from. So I'm not going to put a name on it like I know, like it's a language or it's a mathematical. Nobody knows. That's just something we gave it. You're supposed to seek it. You see what I mean? And then what you get out of it will be different from what I get out of it and what Roy gets out of it. And then we put it together and we come a little closer. That's it. So that's the part about what music is. Even the old composers said the same thing. They were the first person I saw that said that. They said, honestly, we don't know what music is. That's what these old composers said. Okay, now so that's that thing, how I feel about what music is. Honestly, I don't know, but I seek it every day. You see, and that goes with any art. It doesn't have to be with, when I say music, it can be anything, whatever your passion is. If it's your baby, that's your music. If it's cooking, that's your music. You see what I mean? What you're seeking. You're seeking your muse, what makes you amused. You mean, so music can be anything. It can be mathematics if that's your muse. But the main thing is to seek. Seek is short for science. S-C-I to see. E-N-C-N-C-E. C-N-C. Just seek and see. That's what science means. That's the root for sin, meaning to see in. Okay, Mount Sinai, where they did the Ark of the Covenant, would mean they're showing the people how to practice now. Mount Sinai means to see in. Sign, start your science. That's why they signed the covenant there, showing the people how to practice. And if you practice, you could be greater than your surroundings. So that's the first thing there. Was there anything else?
Yeah, how David came on the scene, how the court musicians around the Saul.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a very good story. So David, they say, went the way of his ancestors. So that means he's going through the Egyptian or the Essene mystery schools. That's why they call it mystery, because we don't know what it is. They said David walked with God. He went the way of his ancestors. So if he's seeking God, that means he doesn't know. He's just on the search. But he played a guitar or some type of small string instrument every day. Because he did that, this made him a master. Made him a master of kung fu, because he could beat the giant with no problem. He wasn't even worried about it. Didn't need a weapon or anything. He could, they said he killed the lion by tending the sheep, and killed a bear, and he could outrun every animal in the field, all this kind of stuff. But some kind of way, the music gave him that power. Because of playing that music, truthfully, God decided to walk with him, whatever that means, but that's just what's in the Bible. And so that made him greater than the king. And eventually Saul's musician, Saul was the king. And he had his musicians who were supposed to enlighten Saul or console him. But Saul got distressed because he had a 10-cubit giant to fight. A big, tall giant. And this guy was from the Philistines. He was a warrior also. Saul's a warrior. But Saul didn't know how to beat him. And the music was supposed to enlighten him, but the musicians wasn't working. So Saul said he was going to kill his musicians. And so for those musicians to save themselves, and this is the King James Bible, to save themselves, they had to go get David. And then David played, and immediately Saul was healed by the sound of this instrument. And then they started talking, and David said, hey, the giant's no problem for me. I can help you out. And on. So we know how that story goes. David went in there and
he was a slinger.
Did the job like it wasn't even a problem, to the point where Saul even got jealous because the people started rallying around David because of his power from playing one of these, or drums or whatever. I'm sure he knew the whole orchestra, but they just symbolize it by this, a polyphonic instrument here.
But it's just interesting for you.
So anyway, that story, the music is what was the key.
It's interesting for your readers that David was also a master on that level too, because he was a master slinger. That's the key if you want to understand how David killed the giant. A slinger is a slingshot. It's a sling where they circle it around. And now that you know the word, you can Google it. And they said the armies, those were the people, the armies would be pulling these slingers, and they could hit birds out of the sky, and their slingshots were the equivalent of ballistic weapons today. So the long story short is David wasn't the underdog against the giant, and military people know that. Our friend Boris told me when I heard the story, he says, yes, in the military we know that he was not the underdog. But again, there's that mastery, this kung fu mastery. That's some art form that he was mastery. And when I told the story to the one group, they finished the story. They said when he picked up the stones to kill the giant, he picked up 4 stones. And that's because the giant had 3 other brothers. He knew that when he killed that giant, he was gonna have to deal with his brothers. Now, I'm waiting to see that movie. You know what I mean? That's a movie I want to see. I never read about that in the Bible, But it's like he had to deal with them other brothers too. And he didn't have 2, he had 1. He knew that 1 was going to do it. So this dude has something the equivalent of a ballistic weapon. See what I'm saying? But you got to know the word slinger to even get into his story. But once you see slingers, like, oh, imagine seeing that in a movie. So anyway, David was a bad dude. I'm going to let Reg keep going.
So that gets back into the story of the bards again. The bards dispersing armies. David was a bard, played the music, and all of a sudden he could kill a whole army by killing the leaders, killing the 4 Cyclops. Mm-hmm.
Wow. I want to share with you, Regi, that actually after we had a lesson the other day, and you told me some of these things, and it was a very interesting coincidence that happened that day. After I left, I went to one of my friend's house, And his son, Zion is his name. He's one of my favorite little people in the world. He said, I had my baby. My baby's not even 7 months, you know, he's a little thing. And he was walking on the ground, and Zion said, hey, let's act like I'm the giant and he's David. I have not talked about David and Goliath in like years, except you told me that. I went there that day. This little boy said that to me, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay, let's do that. But I wanted to share that with you because that's interesting. But I also want to ask you again about one interesting thing. So again, with the whole Age of Aquarius, and it's like, you know, David, you said it was a shepherd, and you talked about this, and it's like, I want to say, what I'm doing with music purposefully is like our band's mission statement is to raise the consciousness of the planet through the power of music. And so nice. I say we are herding the consciousness with music. And I want to ask you more about this whole thing, because that's what you said David was doing. He's a shepherd, and who are the sheep? And like, you know, we're herding the consciousness through music. You said that's basically what he was doing. Can you talk about that?
And also, real quick, what's the name of your band again? Doing
Two Cities, One World.
Okay.
Two Cities, One World.
And also, before Reg goes, I'd just like to remind before we forget that Reg does teach online, and so Reg doesn't mind giving his number out for people who's interested in taking lessons with him online. Just letting you know.
Regi is the teacher, and as he's called, but really the true master of masters. I mean, you guys definitely want to take a lesson with Regi and get your mind blown. I've been taking lessons actually with you for almost 4 years, and I hit you up in Bulgaria before I left. That was 4 years ago, and I said, and over for a year and a half, I'm like, I want to meet you and take lessons, and I couldn't believe you or even said yes. I couldn't even believe I got a hold of you. And then I waited for a year and a half. I could have done the online thing, but I really wanted to meet you. So then I drove out to Nashville from St. Louis multiple times. And I got to say, like, you know, I had like 2 lessons a year for 4 years. And in those 2 lessons, though, one lesson literally changed my life. I mean, all of those. So you guys, you know, I mean, look at this, man. You guys, I got these books because of you guys. Check this out.
Oh, I have, the Heaven of, that's
Mystery of the Seven Vowels, Mozart, the Freemason right here.
Those are hard books to find.
Yeah, you guys, you know, you guys have blown my mind.
Look at them playing the trumpet and open up that wormhole right there. Look at that. You see that? What's that little circle, that little black sun circle? What is that about? Then they got the tails, mingling in the back. Just look at the cover and decipher what that means.
The angles of the trumpets too.
But look at the angles are making the
angles of everything with Korean.
Yeah. And then they got that black sun thing. You know, they got black rays coming off of the sun.
On the way to my friend,
black hole.
Sorry, I say on the way to my friend Christos's house. That's his name, the Zion son, the father. On the way to his house, just that same day, I also noticed there's a big church on the way, and there's like there's a huge steeple. It's giant, so high in the air. And on the very top, somebody playing this trumpet, and I'm guessing that's Gabriel. And I'm just like, it's just blowing my mind, you know. And even that's right there.
But I know there's some curious minds and people want to learn and deep dive with Reg. And Reg, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
You can call me anytime. My phone number, my cell number is 615-710-4738. That's 615-710-4738. And I can help you with anything. My specialty is music, but it usually blends off into anything. But feel free to call 615-710-4738.
Yeah, so Reg teaches piano players. I mean,
every instrument,
all the different instruments, man. It's very
all kinds of stuff. Feel free to call about anything.
And they all come out playing, man. Everybody from animals as leaders to you know.
You don't have to agree or anything. I'm just open ears. Music is a lot of listening, and I love to listen to what people have to say, because that's a lot of teaching right there. Just letting them get out. Yeah. Let them what's in their mind come out to this world, and that's a lot of energy right there that can really help.
But what I like is that
listening to.
I like that Reg goes from beginners to advanced, because when I mentioned Reg mentioned Evan, and I remember Evan brought Tosin from Animals as Leaders over, and he was already good. I mean, he was already shredding, right? But he wasn't thumping. he had never seen that before. And so Evan brought him over to introduce him to that. And now you see what he's doing now. And that was just an example of meeting the teacher and just, you know, going to another level with it. So yeah, everybody's welcome, and Reg gives you his direct line.
Yeah.
So
and I say, like, you know, there's the teacher, but he's the teacher's teacher too. You know, this is the guy that's teaching the teachers, you know, as well. Anyone.
Yeah. So I cut you off. You just get ready to say something.
I don't know. I think one of the first, just one more thing on Regi is, Regi did something that I've never seen anyone do. I've taken private lessons from over 30 people, at least so far. Because that's my thing. It's like, I'm going to keep going until I die. I'm going to get as good as I can, but I'm also going to keep taking lessons forever because I can keep learning. But you did something that you are like different than everybody on a whole other level. One thing you did, though, the very first lesson I had was, the very first thing you did was, you asked me to play a song. We played a song. It's called The Things We Love. That's what we played that day. It goes through mixed meters and odd meters, and it's cool. And the first thing you did was listen, didn't say anything, and then you learned it. That was the beginning of my lesson, was you learned something from me. I've never seen a teacher do that, ever.
Okay.
That was incredible. That's like showing, like, right there, like, no ego, and you're a student too, open, you know, open to learning. And then after that, you proceeded to blow my mind for, you know, for the rest of the time. So thank you for that. But that was just incredible. I had to share. I've never seen anybody do that.
I'm glad you're still into it. You know, you're still yourself. You haven't lost anything.
I'm working on it, man.
That's a beautiful thing. Yeah,
Thank you.
Beautiful thing. But this is the age of Aquarius too, so it's supposed to be an age of things are sped up, like synchronicity and stuff happen faster now. You don't have to wait a lifetime for things. It used to be, they said, you know, something happens this lifetime, you reap the benefits in the next lifetime. But according to New Age books, I don't know for sure, but they're saying this is a very sped up time where something can happen, and then the synchronicity can happen like fast. Like you said, you had your lesson talking about David, and then the little kid wanted you know, your son to be David and you to be Goliath. So
well, he was Goliath because he's the big one. He's only 6 years old, but he's like big compared to
what time it is. Yeah, a lot of people don't believe in magic and mythology, but believe me, you don't even know how you move your finger. I mean, there's your magic right there. No one's ever going to figure it out. You just mean, what time you going to go to sleep tonight? Nobody knows. You lay down and you go to sleep when whoever decides. I don't know what it is, and you wake up the same way. It's not guaranteed you're going to wake up, even with an alarm clock. You see what I mean? So there's much to seek. You see what I mean? And then luckily they gave us instruments in different ways to help us in that seeking. You see what I mean? So that's what I think like this guitar for me is like a ladder into finding out more and more things. And that's how I found out. That's how I research, by playing and coming here. And I play, but I think the sum is greater than the parts. I play, and then because I'm attuned a certain way, new thoughts come in that I would have never thought about. So that's how I've gotten most of this knowledge. It's like a channeling thing when you play. It's almost like somebody doing martial arts or athletics. You play, but then a muscle memory kicks in. You see what I mean? Muscle memory. A lot of times people can't even remember combinations only through muscle memory.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So the sum is greater than the parts. You do your part, and then you get extra. And so that's how a lot of this, I got mine through music. And then even like when I started doing Wing Chun Kung Fu, through Sifu Brian Edwards, who was my teacher, who was a very good teacher for me. And we actually have the same birthday, Synchronicity. He was a year younger. But he was so advanced, I knew I couldn't get it his way. So I had to figure out a way to take his science and blend it to what I was advanced at, so I could have a passion for it. Because he had passion, but I knew I couldn't develop the passion the way he did it. That was his passion. So I figured out a way to take his Kung Fu and blend it to what I do. And now I have the passion for Wing Chun Kung Fu because I'm seeing it the way I can see it, but the results comes out the way I'm pleased with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like with nature. We studied with who's the nature guy? Tom Brown. You know, but Vic could see it all related to music.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
He has music and nature.
Like Vic with Tom Brown.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
That's a good analogy.
Mm-hmm. Vic took the Tom Brown thing and related to something he knew, and now he's all into it.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about the tracking?
Tracking, right.
Tracking thing.
Yeah,
nature tracking.
Yeah, big study with Tom Brown. He's met the Iceman, all them kind of people. You know, I think Vic been to Indonesia and met the dude that could make his body turn into like electric eel. You touch him, it's like electric. Yeah, there's a documentary called Meetings with Remarkable Men, you know, and he can just do that and burn paper from a distance, you know. This guy is a real guy. You know, Vic met the guy, man.
Wow.
You know,
yeah. Talking about Wim Hof for the Iceman.
Yeah, Wim Hof. Listen to that guy, man.
Oh, he's awesome. I love Wim Hof.
Yeah, they inject the virus right in him, and he's like, no problem. You know, but when he talks about it, he talks about releasing the white blood cells, T cells from the bone marrow, and it gets really deep, man. It's like, you know.
Well, I think it's just how connected are we to our body, really? We think we're not connected at all. People think they're not connected at all, but it's like, have you ever talked to your body? Do you ever thank your body? How often do you connect with your cells? Like, I connect with my cells, every single one of them, and say thank you and ask them to heal me, you know. And it's like, I think and that's when emotional intelligence plays in too, because it's like, how are we really, we're just relying only on medication, we're relying on ourselves, you know. How can you feel what's going on in your body? Really pay attention to those feelings. It's communication. You know, we can't just say, oh, that's just some random thing, you know, like, I mean, it's talking to us, telling us something.
That's a great insight, man, because your immune system, man, is getting down. They're like, that's your last line of defense, man. It's like, whether you get a vaccine or not, even if you get the vaccine and they give you a disease, your immune system is going to deal with it, you know? I mean, it's like, there's a lot to say thank you for.
How much power do we really have with that? Well, if people are telling you don't have any, you just got to come to me and give me your money and I'll give you some pills then. But, you know, is that the real truth, or how much power do I really have? All you got to do, you know, I just think we just have to connect to ourselves, you know, and it's all there.
And it's funny. I believe that what Reg is saying is like that music is somehow connecting it to it. Like you said, Greg Braden says we got to feel something, but music takes you to that feeling. And right now, as we're sitting here, I just keep going back to Reg today, and when he first told me about the Ark of the Covenant, and that it was all a musical thing, you know. And when you read about it, he just mentioned that you got to have 120 trumpet players. What orchestra has that many trumpet players, man? You got to have 120 singers. That's more than Beethoven, man. You know, that's more than Beethoven, man. You got to have like that. Can you imagine what the soundtrack would be if you really showed the scene around the Ark of the Covenant?
You guys should put it together, man. You guys could call on that many musicians and do it, probably. Test it out.
Yeah. So Reg talks about that when Marco Polo went over on his travels and the orchestras that he described. I mean, what did they talk about like that?
Well, they're into polyphony. They have one band, huge band, a 1,000-piece band, thousands in the band. And then they go and just combine with another band. And they'd all be playing. And I think it was Marco. I'm sure it's Marco Polo. He just said it was just an indescribable sound. He said he just can't even describe the sound that he heard. But this was like a common thing he was able to witness. A lot like when Enoch went up to, you know, the different heavens, and he saw the music. He said it was indescribable also. Mm-hmm. Getting into polyphony, you know, the god of power, because in Greek, our God is called, Greek, our God is called Apollo, and that's very revealing, you know, polyphony. And in the polyphony of the A note, not the C note. The C note's diatonic, but the A, if you use that as the Aeolian mode, if you use that like as a tonic or as a key center, it gets into polyphony.
A tonic.
Yeah, like atomic bomb. That's really just saying, it's really the A tonic. You see what I mean? They just use an M because One bomb is hot, one's cold. It's really atonic. It's the atonic. It's tuned to A432, those microwaves that it created. They got to digital technology with that bomb, microwaves. And then they kept perfecting it all the way up to CERN, which is the same thing. It's the same atonic bomb, but they're just doing it without the heat. Still 40 miles square. You see, in CERN. It's the same thing. Same people investing.
So in the end of, I just keep seeing
cell phones.
Akhenaten and the Aton.
Yeah, same
they
thing.
talked about in Egypt, the Aton.
Yeah, Adam and Eve is atomic energy. Adam and Eve, Adam and Eve. It's A, Eve's the fifth. Adam, Eve's the fifth. Just like you have God is C, and Jesus is the fifth of that. So yeah, you get both sides. Did I go too fast?
Yeah, can you explain that again? That's pretty cool because you said she was the fifth, but you said also Jesus was the fifth in C. So I missed the 5 somewhere. For
Eve represented the fifth. Yeah.
Of A.
It's like you have atonal,
Okay.
eternal.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, of course. A.
Atonal is the fifth. Atonal, eternal. They're both the same thing. But you can have an atonal, but eternal. It's the same word, Adam and Eve. Okay, so Adam walked with God, but Eve, she walked with Lucifer, which really means a philosopher, the sixth nut, right? And that's female. You see, Lucifer has to be female. You see, that's why they talk together. If you say Lucifer, you're just saying La, sixth nut. Do re mi fa sol la.
It's being demonized.
But they're demonized. They always demonize the sixth note because that's where your science is. If you say 666, right, which is supposed to be the mark of the beast, which just means the best in the dictionary, when you keep playing with the word, just means who's ever the best becomes the beast. He's a beast on the basketball court, right? The mark of the beast is 666. Well, 6 times 6 times 6 is what, 216? That's half of 432. We're talking computers now.
And the sixth chakra is the third eye, which is allowing us to see the truth too.
The Aeolian mode, like the Shaolin temples, the chi of the Aeolian. Shaolin. You see what I mean? So it's a mystery school. Like you say, Latin. Latin was the mystery language. All the music's written in Latin. Well, it's just the tone of the law. You see what I mean? It's tone of the sixth note.
Oh, so the relationship of the 6 to the 8 note.
If that makes sense to you, law is always supposed to be evil because it's dealing with feminine.
It's also minor, which is kind of.
And it's minor. There's minor and major. They're both the same. Mm-hmm. So you want to get the two. You want to get the major and you want to get the minor.
Oh my God, that's amazing because.
Yeah. So the A and the La.
Mm-hmm. But you got your Area 51s and stuff like that. They're dealing with the minor side of things. You see what I mean? They're left out of part. Like for instance, like you got your like the yin yang symbol. They're leaving out a part. Like they tell us an atom is 3 things: positive, negative, neutral. But an atom is positive, negative, neutral, and another neutral. There's 2 neutrals. Almost like to make it simple for your viewers, you take water. They tell you water's in 3 parts. You have ice when it's cold, and then you have water when it melts down a little bit. More heat, it turns to steam, it turns invisible. But you heat it up one more time, it turns to plasma. You see what I mean? It turns to plasma. If you go to Clearwater, Florida, that's the first place I saw that. Clearwater, Florida, they have signs that say this is the lightning capital of the world. And they say you see these little balls of light float through the air. And so, they don't want you to be afraid of anything. It's a common thing in Clearwater, Florida. Because what happened, they said, what I was told in Clearwater, Florida, they said that they have a drop of water, but a mile-long bolt of lightning will hit that drop of water and bring the plasma out of it, and it floats makes a big ball and floats around. So they call it ball lightning. They see it all the time.
Oh, people call them jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah, ball lightning. So this is the 4th degree. This is what Benjamin Franklin was dealing with. You see, they said he was flying a kite into the lightning storm and getting energy in this whole thing. But it was more than that because I was watching on Channel 2 here in Nashville. They're doing like a patent thing. And this one guy was on, some friends of mine watched it too. This guy was trying to patent he was trying to get money for this patented plasma thing he had figured out, where he had a bunch of electricity hitting a small dose of water, a small amount of water, and he got some energy. And they let the guy go on for like an hour or so. I mean, they really let him do his thing. But then once he finished, and it came time for an answer, a guy stood up in the back and said, well, he said, this is patent number something, something, something. Benjamin Franklin patented this way back then. He patented this plasma energy thing way back then. It's a patent already. The guy didn't create anything. Benjamin Franklin was dealing with that way back then. But the point is, they don't tell you that there's 4 parts to water. They tell you there's 3 parts. The 4 state of matter. They're not going to tell you that there's 4 parts to an atom. You have a chord. This is getting theoretically. So you have G, here's a major 7, major 3rd. That's the nucleus of the chord. This is for the music people. G, there's a major 7, there's the major 3rd. That same G, I can have G, and that's male. That's male. And I can have G minor 7, minor 3rd. That's female. But then I can mix them. I can have G minor 7, major 3rd. And that's a dominant, a baby boy, because it has a major 3rd, like the Christ. But then you have one more possibility. I can have G minor 3rd, major 7. Now we're getting to harmonic minor and melodic minor. We're giving the minor a dominant. Giving the minor a baby also. So there's 4 things that you can do with just 7s. You see what I mean? So the music gives it away. Right. We don't have to just take somebody's word off of it. So you get your area 51s and things like that, which means aria, piece of music, aria, and the 5-1, the 5 Jesus 1. And so they've got that knowledge, Music City kind of thing. Music City. Mm-hmm.
Bringing it back around. You know, but what's interesting about that when we talk about plasma, just to bring the idea of plasma home, it's like your body is full of blood, plasma, right? We're walking full of plasma, man. You know, you stick your skin, plasma's oozing out. You know, if you just really think about the significance of that 4th state of matter. You're a walking 4th state of matter all up in your skin everywhere. You know, whoa. That blood plasma, think about that. The semen too, right? The semen that it takes to have a baby and create life, that's also plasma.
Wow.
See? Right? So plasma just steps things up to the next potentiality.
I have to share something with you guys. This is incredible. I never thought about it in this way. I had a really weird experience. I'm not going to explain the whole thing. It would take too long, but I had an experience about a year ago. It was one of the most powerful experiences I ever had. And it was a mystical experience without drugs. It was a legit mystical experience. This is not the first one I've had, but I don't know what happened, but I can explain it, but I'm just going to get right to it. But basically I passed out one night, which I don't ever do. And I had like a seizure for like 10 seconds. And I didn't know that was happening. And I woke up to my dogs barking in my face. I'm like, what's happening? I was like, hey, calm down. The thing is, where I was during that time was in a different realm of all, and I described it like plasma, where there was no shapes. And I was there with my father, who is deceased. But there was no shapes. There was no outline of me or him, but I knew it was there. And I knew he had his hand on my shoulder and he was talking to me. And there was no shape at all. It was just plasma. I explained it. It looked like some kind of like, some kind of, there's like red and some hints of like oranges and yellows and different colors of like this weird cloud-like, soft plasma-like substance that was everything. But I didn't see any shapes and I just knew what it was. I didn't know what it was. I'm just saying that's an interesting thought because I went to another level of consciousness out there and I entered a plasma state. And maybe that's that 4th level that's kind of under the radar.
That's the light of the world type stuff, you know.
Like an energy field kind of a thing, right?
It was like energy, plasma-y, kind of like lava-y type of plasma, like cloud-like too, though, soft.
Yeah. So that's so interesting.
Oh yeah, that sounds right.
You know, it's interesting that you said seizure because I'm thinking of that book called The Universal One. It's written by, I think it's written by Walter Russell. The book is called The Universal One. And the way he said it came to him, he said he would have seizures. And all of this, everything would just come to him. He said, quicker than you can read this paragraph, he saw everything. It just takes some time to write the book, to download everything. Wow. But it was through seizures. You know what I mean? That That's sort of, insane. You know, I had to break up the pattern. But, you know, when I'm working with Victor, the young kid, 10-year-old kid, we're going through Ibrahim Kareem, and he's saying that our senses are giving us a default view of reality anyway. He says it has to be default. You know, like we can't see all the octaves of light. We can't hear all the octaves of sound. But he said if we could perceive all the reality, it would just be too much. So we're seeing a default version just so that, he said, and he said this, he said, so we won't mistake the people who are in this realm and the people who are outside of this realm. You know, it's like you don't need to see everybody, you know, like there's people who are physical, non-physical. He said you'd be walking through people. I mean, you know, so the fact that we're seeing a default view, and it was so deep, man, because he was saying like, we think our view is out there, right? This is just to get Yoda like, right? But he says, he says like when we're looking at the sun and stuff, he said your brain is creating the light. The light's not really out there. And then I know it sounds crazy, right? But what he's saying is like when you go to watch a movie, right? The movie's out there. He says, well, where's the picture? The picture's back in the projector. Yeah, the projector is projecting that. And he says all of our senses receive information and project. They both receive and project. So the reality that we think is out there is part of a projector, and there's resonance with everything. And the solidity of the world is somewhat of a resonance that's going on. That's enough for now. I'm just saying that when you said seizure, I was just like, a lot of times that's what has to happen to break up. You know what I mean? Being locked into this frame of view. You know, it just kind of broke up, this frequency of the way of seeing things. So very profound. That book is The Universal One, man. And it's like a Dr. Seuss book of physics and metaphysics. Frequency is beautiful. It's really beautiful. Yeah, very good.
Wow. So that's
yeah, that was the movie Contact, man. You went right there with no machines.
Damn. So yeah, I want to bring it back a little to the music stuff, and I want to ask just a couple more things. One is just on the quick note. Have you guys seen the Dark Crystal, the new series, the new one on Netflix? There's a series. I just want to say, to me, it's extremely obvious that this is about the Age of Aquarius, and it's the ending of the age. And this is the time where the people who are stuck in the old ways have a really hard time trying to see a new way. And there's going to be a lot of bumping heads until something shifts. And it's all about like people waking up and seeing that the people who are in the power are really not in their best interest. We think we got this fake smile, like we're happy and like, just take these pills, just give me your money, like everything's cool kind of thing. But it's really people just kind of using others. And then eventually like, one person says that, hey, these guys are the bad guys, and everyone's saying, oh no, that's crazy, you're crazy. And then now that person is the bad guy and the whole world knows. And then eventually, after so much stuff, a couple more people find out to where it takes a huge, massive thing where everybody realizes, oh, those guys are the bad guys, but it takes a long time. But I feel like that's just an analogy for simply like the Age of Aquarius, like what's happening right now, the massive spiritual awakening. I just want to share. You can check it out. And if anybody's seen it, I keep saying this, nobody else has said that. But to me, it's like overly obvious to the max. But within... Sorry.
I just want to underline what you were saying because I watched a presentation by William Henry. And William Henry is, for a lot of people, he's way out there, right? But he was talking about how he was having meetings with the guy who plays Iron Man. Who's the guy? Robert Downey Jr., right? And they were meeting on some real advanced concept for a movie that they're working on. So a lot of times these movies they're meeting with the most advanced thinking, you know what I mean, to put in these films, you know. So
absolutely.
yeah, what
that's
you see,
the consciousness, you know. through a powerful means, entertainment.
Yeah, because I mean, if you want your movie to really be interesting, you got to go to truth, because truth is just stranger than fiction. It really is. It really is, man. You hit water, you got lightning balls coming, and it's like, what? You know, it makes no sense, man.
I was saying about the Bible. You read the Bible, it's way stranger. I've never heard people even bring up things in the Bible because it's just way too strange. It's not truth.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's so much stranger than people don't even deal with it.
You're right. Reggie, you can elaborate on that. I do want to ask you about, because you know a lot that a lot of people are not aware of, but like the power the musicians have had throughout history. So just talk a little bit about that. And I also want to just bring that into now, because I'm hoping that this is the time where the power gets back in the hands of the artist. And I think that's what it's all about. So can you just share some power of history from music?
Well, yeah, make it easy to understand. Let's just take Morse code. Okay, so they say they got that from the American Indian. It's very obvious they were drummers, jazz drummers. You know, I don't think they're just Indians. Indians meaning indigenous, but it's getting into the tradition of like Louis Armstrong. Some of the things he talked about, where the music was on a higher level. You see what I mean? Louis Armstrong, Buddy Bolden, Miles Davis talks about a little bit. Charlie Parker and them guys playing a system of a Morse code, and some people could understand it. Okay, but when they did a lot of their kind of divide and conquer, or however that went down, they would always take the instruments away. You see what I mean? Like if you look in I have some good books, and just look at the instruments in the Smithsonian, and they're incredible. Like it makes my 12-string bass look like something small because the instruments that were right here, even in America, let alone the world, are just fantastic. Fiddles and guitars like you've never seen. Even some Renaissance instruments they have us preserved. But the military took the code that the drummers were playing, and they use it to this day. It's called Morse code. SOS is dot dash dot, right? So they got the whole alphabet system down, and they use it. They use it with light, with a lighthouse. They use it with radio waves. This was a system of jazz drumming. You see me? So that's the musician losing his power, but they saw the value of it. So you can believe that they did it with not just rhythm, they did it with melodically, rhythm and harmony. They did it with the language of the birds. This is where you say something, but you really mean something else, a phonetic Kabbalah. So they do this in movies all the time. A lot of people on television speaking, they say one thing and it sounds absurd, but if you just know what they're really saying, the same thing they do it, like the Masons do it with, and I'm not a Mason, believe me, I'm just a musician, but I study because they're dealing with music so drastically. You see, I mean, if you say Masonic, well, sonic is sound, Masonic is sound. So, but, yeah, so,
yeah, getting back to this whole thing. Just for the viewers.
Free Masonic,
right.
dealing with sound.
Right. The mother tone is how I see it. You know? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, can you go back even further? What else? Power of music. You know so much. I know it's in there.
Like wars.
And you talk. That's what you want to know about, like what musicians could do.
I'm saying, like you talk about how the musician were before, like the most powerful people, sitting with the kings and things like this, and they've always had this respect. And at some point, it seemed to have lessened for some reason.
Well,
maybe not. Maybe not.
No, it did lessen because Martha Ingram wrote a book. I have it in the other room called Apollo's Struggle. And the book's talking about how Apollo was the music god, but then I think his brother Ares was the war god, and how they go back and forth and battle each other. So this is just talking about the music government, like when Mozart was there, and then the military government like we have now. So in America, when they started America, everything pretty much stayed the same as it was before 1776. But the main things that they took out was they took the music away, and you can't say God, because music and religion were the same thing. So they didn't want you to have that. And they knew that this music was science. You see what I mean? And so they took that away. You see what I mean? When they formed this government. So in this government is based off of the military and keeping the music down. That's the way they constructed this government. So you can't say God, right? Not in school, not in a learning situation. So now you can't learn about God. And music is always an elective. You do it on the side unless somebody just makes an exception. But it's not one of the liberal arts. Now, remember, education means something that works everywhere. That's what learning is. So if you say the alphabet, the alpha beta system, you can use that everywhere. Like I got A, B, C, D, but if I go to China and they say ching chong, I can spell it with my system, even though I'm not Chinese. They give us a mathematical system, a mathematical. I can use my system anywhere. If the Chinese give me some money or wherever I go, Africa, they give me some money, I can use my system. But after that, pronouns and adjectives, it doesn't work. So that's not real education. Now, music works everywhere. You see what I mean? So it's supposed to be the number one thing. It's supposed to be there before the alphabet, the way they did in the old days.
Interesting because Red showed this picture. I think I posted in Rhythm Hackers where the first physics experiment was Pythagoras and his Pythagoras, which was like this, looked like a pedal steel type looking instrument, and it has all these different weights to make the string different like tensions.
Dulcimer or something.
Yeah, it looked like a dulcimer, but that was the first physics experiment.
That's how he was doing it.
Right back in music again.
String theory, the whip of David. See, David had that looseness of the muscles, the looseness of that string. All of a sudden, you flick it, that thing is whipping out stones or tones so hard. You know what I mean? He became a deadly weapon. Goliath was the underdog because he didn't have that science. So anyway, yes, the music thing just keeps going on.
Mm-hmm. But what about the story you were talking about where they would have whole armies to battlefields?
Lynn Henry told me a story about where the bard rode in on a horse. Some musician rode in on a horse. I don't know what instrument he had, but they had a flank of unending army on one side and a flank of unending army on the other side. And they had a standoff, and then somebody didn't want it to happen, so they sent this one guy in there, a bard. So a musician, poet, something, he came in there and they just dispersed both sides. They saw it and just went their separate ways. I don't know what he had. But there's a lot to that science right there. And to me, I'm putting this out there because I need people to develop that. Singing, playing, and doing martial arts at the same time. Coming back up a little bit, you get Muhammad Ali. What made him the greatest? You see what I mean? What happened to greatest? He's in the ring dancing.
Yeah, he's got rid of
He's in there with killers, right? He's in there with people that have killed people. His first guy was Sonny Liston. Muhammad Ali reminds me of David in a lot of ways because he was young and was already branding himself as the greatest of all time. He hadn't even won anything yet. He won the Olympics, but he's all up in, he's got a big old bus. You can see it on the internet, see the actual footage. He's all in Sonny Liston's yard. He's a gangster and a big old guy, one of the hardest punchers of all time. Some people think he's the hardest puncher and the meanest of all time. George Foreman, and they pattern themselves after Sonny Liston. Well, Muhammad Ali is just a kid. He's got a bullhorn and look like I'm the greatest of all time. Listen, I can't be beat. It's like, you see what I mean? What's giving him this confidence? And he had confidence, you see what I mean? And then he could back it up. He was like me. He's just waiting for a chance to be in front of the audience. Because I would just love to be on television just to test my theory, see if do I even know what I'm talking about? I would love, I'm like Bruce Lee and Muhammad Ali, I would love that chance. Michael Jordan, you see what I mean? That's like my whole thing. But please question me. Like Bruce Lee, please challenge him. I'm in the same thing. Muhammad Ali was the same. I just use that for Muhammad Ali. Here he is. Everybody else is scared of Sonny Liston. They rank Muhammad Ali was like an 8-1 underdog and even more. You see what I mean? He goes in there, he dances around this guy. I'm not sure it's the first or second round. He beats him in the second round. You know what I mean?
With an ankle punch.
People
Going backwards.
People having so fast and so tricky. He's dancing around, clapping his hands, having a good time. You see what I mean? If you can't dance too, how are you gonna dance with him? Now you go back in the old days, there's more to that story. You actually be singing to your opponent too. You're supposed to be singing to your opponent because you're in your zone.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, you're singing and dancing and playing. Yeah. So that's someone's dispersing. Okay, let's get some of Gabriel playing, and she's the warrior. She's playing and defeating the world.
Yeah, because I heard Chinggis, man. He would have a whole bunch of throat singers, and they would just sing that tone, and then you just knew.
Geronimo did the same thing. Geronimo did the same thing. He got everybody throat singing, so it sounded like he had way more men than he had. But they weren't so much scared of them. They said, "Whoa, what technology is this? These guys are adept. We don't want to mess with these guys." You see, these are the guys that they talked about. Our masters talk about. If you hear that, don't mess with those guys. You see what I mean? So that's why they call this type of thing, when you combine those sciences, ninjas, meaning nature. So you summarize the Moors and Moors, things like that. This is a science that, now the government tried to use it, like Waco, Texas. They play their music too. They know all about what I'm talking about. You're supposed to sing and kill the people. So that's singing, Waco, Texas, David Caress, these boots are made for walking. They got music playing. So, and then of course, Panama. And then it used to be like in the beginning of the United States, they'd have the band playing in front of the army.
Right. The drums.
The drums went first, set the tone. You decide if you want to mess with it or not. So, yeah, you're dancing and singing to your opponent.
That's a very powerful thing, because when you see drum corps, I mean, they're so precision. Right. It's like if they're that precision with the music, it's like, man, we might not want to mess with their army, because you see drum corps, man. These guys like, and it's like, whoa. I mean, it's an intimidation factor. You see all of that technique coming on the drums. It's like, well, yeah, maybe we got to think twice before we mess with them.
Same thing with the Ark of the Covenant. They're up there singing and dancing. All these people singing and dancing. They're seeing flashes of lightning and a cloud here, a pillar of fire. They're killing the firstborn. Moses killed the firstborn. Then he made the river turn to blood. Then he got frogs and lice. You see what I mean? It's like, I don't know if I want to deal with that. So this is the power of the bard tradition. Moses acted like a bard, but then he gave a machine to act like a bard. That's the Ark of the Covenant. A machine so they could do it. There used to be the bard, the Pied Piper could do it. You see me? You're sitting there singing and dancing to your opponent or whatever you're passionate.
So that would probably be like when they send that one person in and it disperses the army. That's probably going back to that ancient.
Yeah. And he probably had backup too, because you look at the prophet Elijah, you see his story. Remember you got Allah, and you got Eli. So Elijah's like, that's why Elijah Muhammad comes from Allah. That's the root and the fifth once again. But Elijah. Say
that again slower. Allah, the root and the fifth. You need to hear this.
Yeah, so it's always the root and the fifth. That's why you have God and Jesus. That's the root and the fifth. G is the fifth of C. God's the all-seeing eye, all the white keys. Get back to C, you got to go through Jesus. Well, all the white keys is Jesus and all the white keys is C. So that works for A too. See, A is all the white keys, but the E has a black key and it's got an extra note. And so that's why that note, the E, ends up being what they call Phrygian dominant. So that's a whole nother thing, something to study. So, but Elijah.
And it's a G sharp, which is kind of like a G again.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, a lot of science right in there.
But what about why did you talk about all of that sixth of that A?
What's that?
You know, if you're in the A and the sixth, well, no, I'm sorry, the sixth and C being a combination between the.
I was going to say first that, but Elijah, you know, even though he was a bard, I'm sure he had backup because he showed the backup. You might not see it right away, but the people would be afraid because they knew there's more to it. Looks like he's there alone, but there's way more power backing him up. Elijah showed that to his servant Elisha when they were, and you got to remember, once you have this power, these guys were bold with their power. That's one thing they never talk about in the Bible. They always make Jesus and these guys look so meek. Elijah looks so meek. Like, no, if you read the story, these guys were boastful and just overconfident. Because Elijah, his story, he's sitting there, they're just eating dinner. And the soldiers are just gathering around the tavern that they're in. Elisha's just petrified. Elijah's just eating dinner. And then finally, Elisha says, you know, can you just help me? He says, I know that you're confident. Can you help me out a little bit? So Elijah opens his eyes and he just sees multitudes of angels all around. You see what I mean? And I forget the way the story, I think finally after Elijah ate, he made everybody go blind and they just walked right out the front door in the King James Version. You see what I mean? So there's way more to this bardic story. And this goes into the fact, before I even get on that, I just want everybody to know that the music thing is way more than just making sound. You're affecting everything. I saw the Tibetan monks come here to the Watkins Art School, and they were saying that. You see what I mean? So, and they made a mandala, what you were talking about. They made a mandala right there. I went there and watched them. It was very intricate. They made out of colored sand. It was like, what? It took hours to make. People sat there and watched. And then they did the throat singing over it, and they did the big didgeridoo kind of things. But one of the didgeridoo is real long and 12-foot long, and they did all this music stuff. And then the next day, I didn't come the next day because they took that mandala and just threw it in the river. Yeah, and they, but they felt Nashville was this place. That's why they came. But I forgot how I was going to relate that.
You were going the music and all that.
Yeah, music. But the music has way more power than you just singing and dancing. You see, I mean, you think you're like the Tibetan monks. They said that they could change the world just by sitting in their monasteries or caves, and they would meditate together, and they would change the world and get the results that they needed. That's what they were talking about. They're just sitting there meditating and change the world.
Yeah, and sadly, the Chinese government killed like 80% of them, like 100 years ago or less. Or well, I don't remember exactly when it is, but they got all taken out, you know. So that's a lot of people.
You see, but
the music's still here.
Mm-hmm.
Music's still here. Governments are still being shut down. You know what I mean? They got coronaviruses. Nobody knows what's going on. Everybody's guessing. Even the president's on television every day. If it was clear cut, just one time and it's done. Gotta be up there. Nobody knows what's happening. This is the age of Aquarius. This is the music age here. My thing is play your music. You see what I mean? You see what I mean? The more you play, the more you avoid the mix-up, and the more in control you are. This is a music age. The further you get away from music, the worse it is. Now, in the old days, if you played music, you got persecuted. Like Jesus on the cross, that story. In the old days, your mind was weak. You got the best minds in the world, from Miles Davis, Charlie Parker, all those guys, drug addicts. They couldn't handle it. But nowadays, that story just keeps going, all dead at 27. Greatest minds in the world. You know, they're linking up to do some heroin. But here we are doing this. Nobody's talking about heroin at all. This is a whole, and there's lots of us around here, not just us three. There's plenty of people that have the same kind of searching thing, and they're vegan and vegetarian. They're not swearing every other word like the ancients had, like our ancient greats had to do. So, you see what I mean? So to me, like I was telling Roy, if you have these kind of people in the world, that's like the people of Aquarius coming back. They can't be corrupted. That makes you be a superhero. You see what I mean? Compared to what the world was. Because my superhero was Miles Davis, Charlie Parker, Coltrane, Thelonious Monk, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and on and on. But they're all drug addicts and died early. Now here we are, pursuing their craft and probably taking it further, right? There's no heroin on the table at all. You see, I'm sure people probably wish there was. So this makes you a superhero. Now you're the same people. You're like the people back in the old Aquarius age. So if you got superheroes, you have to have supervillains. Like you have the Fantastic Four, you got to have Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom was trying to suck the life out of the whole planet. So we got Corona. We're right on time. No big deal. This is the Age of Aquarius. That proves it. Something shuts down the whole world economy. Well, that's superhero Marvel comic book stuff. We're right on time. I think it's the arts that did it. The people up at the top, they don't know what's happening. They sitting there battling amongst each other. We're not battling amongst each other. We're filming each other. So which one is it? They didn't cause it. They don't know what caused it. So I'm sure some people wanted some money. I'm sure some people got sick. That's not it. So you want to use a wider three. Right now, just to make it clear for everybody, what I can say and what I live on, my religion, what I back up on, what I play every day, you got to stick with your music. And the further you get away from it, the further from life you're getting. That's where we are today. You see, you got your Halliburtons and stuff, they're into corruption. They don't even exist anymore. Now it's a company that could not, they've been here since the beginning of time. You can't do anything with those guys. You see, they don't even exist. You got people getting arrested today. I won't say their names. You got people getting arrested. These people can't get arrested. Hey, 23 years here in jail, and on and on and on. That's just what time it is. You're in the Age of Aquarius where you want to be or not. You see what I mean? And so, and planets have DNA. They have the agenda. They give you the baby that they want to give you, not the one you choose. You see what I mean? So you kind of want to know what time it is. And right now, we're in the Age of Aquarius. This is a music age. Gabriel says, I'm the beginning and the end. I was the one in the beginning. And Gabriel's a girl. Gabriel's the only female archangel. She's the only female. She said, I'm the beginning and the end. I'm God. In the beginning, when God walked upon the waters, that was her playing music. It wasn't water, it was vibration. He said, I was creating. According to King James. But that's what time it is right now. I'm just saying that for knowledge. You see, the whole world's shut down. This is Aquarius. Things are happening faster now. We'll see more things in our lifetime. You stick with your music because that's what's creating it. We're back into the Shaolin Temple when they used to rule. Another way to look at it, like for so many years, for 21,600 years, we were going from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock on the clock. But now we're at 6 o'clock going to 12 o'clock. So everything's reversed. A lot of people don't believe me, but I can remember when the hurricanes switched. They used to spin clockwise. Now they all spin counterclockwise. It happened on a Tuesday. And then they stayed mixed up for 3 days. Because I had my student, this guy named Rick Cole. We watched it every day. We used to laugh about it. You see me? Because the radar was going one way and the simulation that they always use was going the other way. On the news, and they apologized for 3 days. On the third day, they fixed it. And they had them both. Now the hurricane spinning counterclockwise. Now you go to Bell South, they got diagram. They got it diagrammed out there. They know that. They were waiting and depending upon it. If you look at the Tennessee license plate, they show that. Just go to any Tennessee license plate, mine, Roy's, look on the back, they got Tennessee, and right in the middle, they got that DNA spiral. They're waiting for that. Coming right through. They're waiting for that magnetic shift to happen. Pole shift, so they could use it. You see what I mean? And they are. Now you got your tsunamis, and you see what I mean? That they're using it that way through technology. But this is your technology. This is the musician's technology. That wave was the waters. Anytime you say water anyway, your amp has how many watts? 50 watts. Watts is water. Water just means power. You walked upon a 50-watt amp. So anyway, Yeah, you stick with your music today, and it's going to keep growing. The music side. That's where we are. It's Age of Aquarius. Whether nothing you can do about it. Die and come back, you're still in it. Age of Aquarius. Just like you're stuck in your body. Your body tells you what to do. You see what I mean? You get a little bit of free will, but then when it says it's time, you go to sleep. Doesn't matter if you're driving a car or not, you're going to sleep.
Wow, that's so interesting that you said that too, because
so that's what you want to know what time it is.
Ibrahim Kareem was explaining, you know, how our senses are receivers and projection, and he says our body, it takes energy to project this simulation all the time, you know, because there's a reality here. If you saw the way it really was, it just wouldn't make any sense, right? So it says there's a projected reality, and that the body has to just shut down because it takes energy to do that. You know, it takes energy to project and to create this, to hold this reality that we're experiencing. And so after a while, you just it has to shut down the rest of the machine. The body has to rest. I thought that was very interesting.
That reminds me of the birth of my child. I know this is intense and weird, but I mean, like, Anna's body, she completely, during contraction, she shut down. Like, I mean, I'm saying in between contractions, she's completely unconscious. She's just done. Like you said, like her body, just like you said, it shuts down to produce that energy, to project something, to give life. Like that is what was happening in that moment, you know, and those times. That's an interesting thing, I guess.
That's quite a hero's journey right there. That whole odyssey right there. The way we get here is an odyssey, man.
Nobody knows anything.
Yeah.
So all you can do is seek it. This is the age where you have to seek. If you decide to quit seeking, all of a sudden this age doesn't recognize you. And that's profound. Just like in the last age, they profoundly killed everybody that did seek. And then they put an imitator up there. You see, the saints were left behind. But now it's the other way around. People still following that old way of corruption, they're being taken down. That's what the movie Swordfish is about. The cyborg, John Travolta, he used to work for the government doing evil. But he met Hugh Jackman, who was a musician. We know he's a musician because every time he did his computer work, he had to sit there and start dancing. 40,000 watts of funkin', 40,000, you know, he had to do all this funk. You see what I mean? That's what Gabriel was looking for. Somebody could do that work, play that music, but not kill himself. Because the first guy did kill himself, like Jimi Hendrix, Axel Turball in that movie. See, he couldn't handle it, so he freaked out, got shot. But Hugh Jackman could do it. And so because the cyborg found the musician, Hugh Jackman, and got him to do those 7 computers and all that, and he starts dancing and clapping his hands and starts twerking in the movie. Yeah, he starts trying to do a little twerk in the movie. And then Gabriel shows right up. He shows right up and says, hey, when he's really getting down, hey, what are you doing? You see, he likes that. And then from that energy, the cyborg was able to do all the work he was trying to do.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's just so, and then after that, the cyborg started killing who he used to work for, but working for Hugh Jackman. He had his daughter back and more, you know. Looked like it was terrorism to Hugh Jackman because he didn't understand it. But he gave him his daughter back. He gave him all that money. He was working for him. He wasn't working for the government killing innocent people. Now he's killing them, according to the movie Swordfish, and many more. I could do movies forever saying exactly what I just said, where it says stick to your music. You got the movie Mars Attacks. I don't know if you remember that movie, right? So you got the Martians, they're just killing everybody.
Yeah,
right?
Government, everybody.
They kill it. They go to the White House, blow it, the smithereens. Jack Nicholson is the president. He gives a very riveting speech. why can't we just all get along? The alien acts like he's crying. He sticks his hand out, and the hand comes out, turns into a worm, and jabs him in the back, kills him. Then it comes out, a flag comes out of his chest, a red, black, yellow, and green flag comes out. What's that about? Red, black, and green and yellow flag comes out of the president's chest. And they laugh. They laugh about it. Nobody can kill the aliens. They kill the White House. The nuclear bombs doesn't work on them. They shoot a nuclear bomb. They smoke it like it's a joint
or something.
Yeah, they smoke it and start laughing. That's what they thought about nuclear energy. So finally, the only thing grandma was listening to, she was sitting there all by herself listening to her music. The aliens were going to kill her, but the headphones fell off and they heard the music and killed the aliens. I thought that was very key. She was in there all by herself listening to her music. She was in the shed, right? When they interrupted her shed, her practice, they killed themselves. So then the army found out about it and started broadcasting that music over the whole world and killed the aliens. The music killed the aliens. Why did they put that movie out? Spent a lot of money too. They used all the major actors, from Black Jim Brown to Pierce Brosnan, who's James Bond, Jack Nicholson. He's not cheap. On and on. They use everybody. Who's the little midget guy? He's Danny DeVito. All these high prices to waste it, to waste the movie. Must be a message in it. The music killed, because they know what time it is. They have a cosmic calendar. The government was given a cosmic calendar by the ancestors, the people that helped them form this government. Like on a $2 bill, you see the one guy showing them how to do it. They gave them the calendar, so they know what time it is. Music killed all of it. This is a music age. And because we're at the beginning of Aquarius, it's just going to keep increasing.
Again.
Yeah.
A whole cycle.
Mm-hmm. It talks about in the Bible. God said, man, I got to, in the middle of the Bible, I think it's Daniel and Ezekiel, but I got to know for sure. Don't quote me on that. But it's right there towards the middle, before the New Testament, and down the road in the Old Testament. They said they tell the same story twice. God's trying to deceive the world with his dragons. God says, I'm trying to deceive the world. Something they never talk about in Christianity. God's trying to deceive the world, not man. He's trying to deceive the world, and God says, I have to. But my
mighty man,
my people are destroying the dragon, my chosen one. He said they can't be defeated in King James Bible. They can't be defeated. So he says, I'm going to take them off the earth till the end times. Then he's going to bring them back, and they'll bring the world back. Well, we're in the end times now. So somebody predicted this stuff way back then. Looks like the movies are predicting it too. There's so many movies showing that. I'll give you one more. You got Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Da, 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 da. That movie is really a music movie. They just draw it out. Well, they do use an artist. Richard Dreyfuss is working with clay, building men and souls, things, whatever that's supposed to symbolize. But the end of the movie is very, very profound, where you got NASA, but it's not just NASA, it's a worldwide, because even the leader's Swiss or something from another. But it's like a worldwide arc of scientific capacity, NASA or whoever. And they're sitting there watching one musician, an organ player, out there in the middle of the desert by himself. They're watching him, and they're radioing to him what to play. But the musician never radios back. So I don't think the musician knew that NASA was in his head, because he never says okay or whatever. He's just sitting there like a zombie. You see what I mean? I think they're trying to show us something, that the scientific community was in the musician's head telling him what to play, and he would play it on command. But he was the one that could bring the UFOs down and all that stuff. You see what I mean? It was the musician that could bring the UFOs down. This great mothership, this great Ark of the Covenant out of the sky. And then finally, if you really look at the music, and you can see that the scientific community, they knew music because they were using solfeggio and they're doing all these symbols, ancient music symbols.
Those hand signs came from, what's his name's assistant? Bartok. could die.
They knew that science.
Yeah.
The scientific community knew it. And they're telling him what to play. So he starts playing. Once the organ player starts playing melody, not just melody, da-da-da-da, but melody, rhythm, and harmony, then that made the mothership come down. Yeah, and all the keys start playing by themselves, and they're playing chords. And then they had the rhythm,
Now we get
and they're still playing the da-da-da-da-da. Once they did that, then the whole, first they're just getting like, if you use one of them, they're just getting little small sightings. When he did all of them, then the whole mothership came down. But the musician never saw the mothership. But NASA and them did. They came down and talked with the aliens, and brought back people that they had abducted. Some of the NASA people got on the ship. Musicians nowhere to be found. He didn't know what was happening. So it's very, very key. Why did Spielberg write that movie? It was a dud. Didn't make money. Maybe he was supposed to tell us something about it. We're in the Age of Aquarius, very strong. So that's like my whole thing. I totally understand it 100%. Stick to the music, things happen.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot of stuff, guys. Well,
yeah.
I think we should roll out soon. But is there anything that either or both of you want to say? I could say specifically to empower the musician right now, or just anything else you want to close with in general. Because Regi kind of said it, and he was saying, just play your music. But I mean, is there anything you want to add? That's powerful enough for me,
I got a question. You answer your question. What can you say to empower everybody? Let's hear what you got to say.
And then I have something too.
Yeah, what do you guys say?
That's cool.
What do you say, Mr. Jared? What do you think?
I think it's the time for artists. I think that this is the new age, and there's going to be massive changes, and I'm hoping that this virus is, like you said, shut down the government, and I think that it's time for some changes. People are like, when it gets back to normal. Well, I'm hoping that it doesn't quite go back to normal, and people just continue to go into love. And I want to tell the artists to create your own music, create original music right from your heart, and give the world your heart, and give yourself that, and to bring your music alive as much as possible. And to do that, we got to dig in, to feel something, to really feel something, something that moves you, that makes you cry or whatever, that makes you laugh, whatever, but something honest, authentic. And I think that everything about creativity, I think everything is art, because everything is creation. And so to be artistic is simple, because we're always artistic, because everything is growing and life is expanding. But the way to do it, because creativity implies something unique. And the way to do that is to be authentic and true in yourself. Like talk about the thumbprint, like I'm the only one with this one. So I don't need to try to sound like something else. I just want to go into my heart and put that in my music, and that's it. And that's it. So I'm going to create as much music as I can while I'm here, and I recommend that we do the same. But from, like you're talking about, you said, some people do music for these reasons. It's like, what's the reason though? My reason is because that is like saying thank you to God. Like, I am a creation. I am here. I was at life. I was given life, and I want to give life, through that means. And music is my means, just for me and for, probably a lot of people watching this. So that's my thoughts. That's what I'm doing. And I hope everyone else does the same, especially right now, to bring the world back into harmony. There's always harmony, but let's say, there's dissonance and there's consonance. So a harmony where people are together, really together, everything, the harmony of the universe. I think the music is the way to harmonize it. Yeah. So that's it.
Nice, man.
And I feel you. And I want to underline what you're saying, in the sense that, you talk about music as harmony and everything. And if you think about like a symphony, 1,000 musicians or 100 musicians, and the laws of orchestration and how those laws of orchestration work, you have to actually understand, like when Reg is writing for trumpet, and he's just trying to get the trumpet to play the C on the piano, the laws of orchestration says I've got to write a D. I've got to know that transposition, right? If I'm writing that same note for that horn right there, the esophagus, the French horn, I've got to write a E. I've got to write something totally different. That's the laws of orchestration. If I write for a saxophone, I got to write a different note. I got to write an A, you know what I mean? So if that's so for instruments, how much more so for people? You know what I mean? I'm just want to go with what you're saying. The laws of music bring the orchestration. We're trying to orchestrate the world so it's not chaos. And to do that in music, it takes, you got to know something. It's not just that you just got elected and that you're just going to do it. It's like, you actually have to know something. You know what I mean? Pythagoras, you've got to study 22 years and you're still not done. You know, Pythagoras still not done, right? So music is powerful like that. And I want to underscore what you're saying for people now to believe in what they're working on, believe in the feeling that you have. Because I always ask the kids when I'm speaking, right? I said, just think about this, man. If I just want a good song and I'm just waiting for somebody to write a good song, do I think anybody in the government is going to come up with that song? Or if anybody's in the United Nations is going to come up with it? No, the person who's going to come up with it is going to be somebody from what you're working on. It's not going to come from legislation. You're not going to legislate a good song. It's going to come from Springsteen. You know what I mean? It's going to come from somebody regular. Now, I'm saying this to say, like, a lot of people are distracted, can be distracted about what's going on in the news and what's going on that. And it can distract you from, like you were saying, digging into what it is that you're feeling. And when you're feeling that, it feels like what you're doing doesn't have as much weight. But I also do this when I speak to kids. I say, how many kids have heard of Mozart? Even little babies, kids, they raise their hand, they heard of Mozart. Now, I'm like, now who in the crowd can tell me who the king was? Who was the president during Mozart's time? Nobody remembers, right? It's just silence, right? How many people remember Beethoven? He's the musician guy. Who remembers who was the president and the king during Beethoven's time, right? Right now, there's some scholar people, some nerdy people that raise their hand and say, yeah, I remember it was King so-and-so, Louis so. I say, okay, cool. What did the king write that you remember today? Silence. See what I'm saying? But today, people are playing Beethoven's music. That art resonates today. What you're feeling, like, right, especially right now, you the artist, what you're feeling at right now, besides the artists and comedians, you know what I mean? Comedians like maybe tell it through the jokes, but the artist is gonna resonate something that we can never forget about. Where are we right now? What, you know what I mean? Like, where are we on the cosmic vibe back to Aquarius? We don't know where we're going. Technology needs orchestration to bring it into order. And what is it about your art, what you're feeling, that outweighs what you're seeing on the news? If people could just believe that, you know, don't get so distorted and distracted about what you feel and what you're going to pass on to the future. Because if you look at Mozart and his notes and stuff, look at how that resonates and how you don't even remember who was running the country at his time. It's like they didn't even exist almost. You don't even remember them. And if you do, you don't remember what they said. You know, it doesn't resonate today. That's all I'm saying. So I want to really underscore what you're saying and let people like really run with that, man. You guys got a fire. It's just a little fire, but that fire, man, when we share that fire, man, we get more. We don't lose by sharing this fire. So I just wanted to underscore that. That's the good amazing, songs are going to come from you. It's not the good songs that the world needs to hear. It's not going to come from legislation and laws and stuff. It's going to come from the heart. So that's my 2 cents. You know.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you guys so much.
I'll finish up just by saying, yeah, with the music, art, whatever, but you want to be at the top of the pyramid. Right? The bottom of the pyramid is the masses of the people. And how you lift yourself up, it gets skinnier and skinnier. There's less people. When you if you do sports, you're starting to go up the pyramid a little bit. You're making more money. You're popular. But still, you do sports, basketball, whatever. Half the audience likes you, the other half doesn't. They're rooting against you. You go to Politics, same way. You know, half the crowd likes you, half doesn't. When you go to the top of the
That's what's
pyramid,
filling up the arena, like opposition.
right, opposition. But you go to the music, you see the cap song. You go in there, you got Elvis up there, filling up the arena, 80,000 people, whatever. Michael Jackson, whoever, the Stones, Metallica, they're all just screaming Metallica. There's no opposition. They're all there to see him. That's as high as you get on this planet. So Aquarius recognizes that. Yeah. That's high as you get. It's nothing higher.
And if you really think about that, I mean, every time I go to see Carter Beauford, right, and Dave Matthews, right, I remember where they started, man. Carter said, man, this kid's got some good tunes, and he's asking us to help him do his music. It just started like that. But they just doing it so right. And Carter came doing it right with Secrets and Dame Bryant in them, right? They just started their little thing. Whoa, and I kept seeing it get bigger and bigger from 13-passenger van. Now they got a tour bus. Now, boom, and now We the Flectones opening for them. Now they're in stadiums. Now they're playing baseball stadiums. You know what I mean? Look at the power of art to do that, you know? And I like Dave Matthews because they didn't have to do it like so aggressively, like where he said, I'm just going to wear a meat suit. I'm just going to do it. They just play good music, man. They just, you know what I mean? Like your power of your art to expand like that. You know what I mean? What Reg is saying that's some powerful stuff. So just, you know.
So now we're in a shutdown. So we'll see what it brings.
Yeah. But that's shared too.
There's gotta be death, you know, it's the cycle. It's the Ouroboros or whatever. Forgetting how to say this.
The hero's journey.
Create the new life. The shutdown.
Stick with your passion, whatever it is. Stay with your passion. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. I know there's so much more, but yeah, thank you all so very much.
Thank you, sir. You're doing a good thing.
Thank you to the listeners who stuck through this whole thing. You guys. All right, guys. We'll see you.
I'll see you later.
All right.